Well, hello to all of my methodical researchers out there. This is going to be a short video about Georgia regulations. Now, we've already talked about finding, reading, and updating regulations in the federal context. And when it comes to Georgia regulations and researching those, I don't think that you're going to find any of those things to be all that different. So this video is mainly just going to be focused on the sources that you would use for Georgia regulatory research. And we'll do Lexis this time since it's actually going to be a little bit better than Westlaw for Georgia regulatory publications. And your main source for Georgia's regulations is going to be Georgia Rules and Regulations. You can find the official version on Lexis, and it's a regulatory code analogous to the Code of Federal Regulations that we've looked at rather extensively in our past couple of videos. And to find it, we're just going to navigate to Administrative Codes. For state, we're going to choose Georgia. And here it is. Rules and Regs is our first result. And the first thing you notice when you pull up the source is that unlike the CFR, which is organized solely by subject, even if the same subject might be regulated by multiple agencies, Georgia Rules and Regs is going to be organized specifically by agency. And this usually works pretty well. It tends to make the research a little easier overall in some ways because we get many of the benefits of that topical organization, since by nature agencies only tend to really regulate in one area mainly. But we are also able to very easily find all of an agency's different regulations in one place. Very convenient. Now, I can go ahead and tell you that Georgia just doesn't have much regulation of debt relief scams or telemarketing, so the Attorney General in our hypothetical is right. Federal law would probably provide a better enforcement mechanism when we're dealing with like a telemarketing debt relief scam. So let's look at a totally different type of regulation. Let's go to the State Board of Election and just see some of the interesting elections regulations in the state of Georgia. So there are a lot of agencies, so I'm going to run a Control F search for election. And here we go. Rules of the State Election Board. We'll choose the Georgia Election Code, and then we'll just browse a little bit. Absentee voting, okay? And here we go, the regulatory section on advance voting. And you can see that it does look really pretty similar to what we saw for federal regulations that we found in the CFR. It's really not that dissimilar in its format or in the different features that are available. If you scroll down past the text of the regulation itself, you find the statutory authority, which is going to allow us to find those enabling statutes, which is something we always want to do in our research. We're going to want to look at the regulatory authority alongside those statutory authorities. Now, we do get some history here. We get the date of the promulgation of the regulation originally, as well as the most recent amendments to the regulations, which can be useful information to have, although, we don't have like a citation or anything like that here, so it's difficult for us to find, the actual final rule or the notice of the proposed rulemaking, just based on this information alone, because it only gives us the date. Now, Lexis also has the Georgia Government Register, which is essentially Georgia's version of the Federal Register, although the materials that it collects are not necessarily going to be exactly the same. Let's take a quick look at that. And we can just navigate to it by choosing Administrative Codes here. And just like last time, we'll choose Georgia. And here we go, the Georgia Government Register. And if you look at the table of contents for really any given month here, you just get all of the different government actions in Georgia for that month. That's going to include administrative opinions. It's going to include, appointments by the governor. It's going to include notices of proposed rulemaking. All of these different things. To really effectively use this in your research of regulations, you would need to either, use the index or, run a search of the relevant agency, maybe look for notices of proposed rulemaking. I'm not going to do a detailed demonstration of that here because I'm just more trying to expose you to these basic sources of Georgia administrative law, and you'll have a chance to do some research into Georgia regulations for your assignment. But the focus there will be more on taking some of the strategies for finding regulations in the CFR that we discussed in the federal context in our earlier video and applying them to the Georgia context with Georgia rules and regs. I think you're going to find that those sources are roughly analogous, although Georgia's processes for rulemaking are not necessarily quite as formalized. But it is good to at least have an idea of where you would find the Georgia Government Register and the types of information that you would find in that source. Okay, that's all I have for now. Until next time.